AITA for blowing up on my dad and telling him he can't see my daughter? Alright, so a little backstory. I'm a 19 years male and I have a fiancée, let's call her Kay, who is 19 female, and I have a 8-month-old little girl. So all my life my dad has basically done nothing for me. He would call to tell me and my mom where to go so I could stay with him for the summer and then ghost us, and I wouldn't hear from him again for months. He is still way behind on child support for not only me but for 2 of my other siblings. He's always just been hateful and mean. I have tried to talk to him and have a relationship with him, especially since now I have a kid and I want him to be a part of her life. We talked and stayed civil at least for a couple of years. I used to live with him when I was around 16 and worked at the same place as him. He stole around $1,000 from me in total while I lived with him, and he would promise to pay it back or buy me something I wanted to make up for it, and I never got anything. I would help with bills and buy my own special things so he didn't have to. So me and my fiancée just got a puppy about 3 months ago, and my dad called and asked if we wanted to come stay with him for the weekend. Our puppy wasn't housebroken yet and couldn't be alone for that long, and we don't have anyone to watch the pup, so we asked if we could bring him with us. After a little convincing, my dad agreed. So we get to his house and everything was fine with the entire visit. I actually had a good time. Now for the part where I might be the asshole. My pup is from a litter of like 6. My older brother got my pup's sister and found out she had sarcoptic mange, which is a type of mange dogs can get from a parasite called scabies. We thought my pup had it because his ears were crusty and started to split. So I called my father and told him about my brother's dog and how my pup might have had it. He went on a whole rant telling me I should be ashamed of myself for bringing an animal around my 8-month-old daughter and called me a shitty father. I was honestly kind of shocked and responded with, "You have no right to tell me how I am as a father when you have 6 kids and only 2 talk to you, me and my 13 years old brother." He told me I was neurotic and told me to go fuck myself. I just didn't respond at that point. A couple of weeks later I saw that Godzilla -1 is on Netflix, and me and my father are huge Godzilla fans, so I try to call him. No answer. So I try again a few hours later. No answer. I called my little brother just to find out my dad blocked me, and it was because he doesn't put up with bullshit, so I told him and his wife that my family will no longer be a part of his cultish family and how I will not allow my daughter to be around that kind of toxicity. He just yelled and told my little brother he was no longer allowed to talk to me. AITA? I wrote a post few days ago regarding my ex-fiancé who befriended my wife months ago, lied to my wife about us meeting 4 years ago, when I actually went to NC with her for more than 7 years. She even sent my wife a few pictures from the time we met. My wife was upset with me because we started dating 5 years ago, and the photos were taken 6 months after we started dating. I want to thank a lot of you for extending support and help. This has been a horrible week that just kept on getting worse. I do not blame my wife for believing Jess. Jess seemed to be a changed person from the girl I broke up 7 years ago. I felt bad about her being in an abusive marriage for almost 3 years with a narcissistic husband. She got her life back together, was doing great with her work, and also started her own business. She had me rooting for her too, and I was proud of her journey. I could see why my wife liked her. After Jess sent photos to my wife, I tried every possible thing to prove that the pictures were fake. I showed them to 3 acquaintances who told me that they can help me. None of them were able to find any inconsistencies with the photos. I also called my parents and my friend who I met during that trip. My mom saw the photo and recognized that the gym photo was taken in the YMCA gym where my parents go. She remembered that I used their guest passes during that visit. My friend also identified the park where the music festival photo was taken. He confirmed that we had gone there during my visit for a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Things were just getting really confusing as how photos exist between Jess and I at these venues. I want to thank a lot of you for extending support and help. This has been a horrible week that just kept on getting worse. I do not blame my wife for believing Jess. Jess seemed to be a changed person from the girl I broke up 7 years ago. I felt bad about her being in an abusive marriage for almost 3 years with a narcissistic husband. She got her life back together, was doing great with her work, and also started her own business. She had me rooting for her too, and I was proud of her journey. I could see why my wife liked her. After Jess sent photos to my wife, I tried every possible thing to prove that the pictures were fake. I showed them to 3 acquaintances who told me that they can help me. None of them were able to find any inconsistencies with the photos. I also called my parents and my friend who I met during that trip. My mom saw the photo and recognized that the gym photo was taken in the YMCA gym where my parents go. She remembered that I used their guest passes during that visit. My friend also identified the park where the music festival photo was taken. He confirmed that we had gone there during my visit for a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Things were just getting really confusing as how photos exist between Jess and I at these venues. Jess, on the other hand, was comforting my wife, telling she did not imply anything when she sent her the photos. She said that she was married at that time, and we just ran into each other a couple of times during that visit. Jess was telling my wife to not overthink the photos, and I must have forgotten that we ran into each other. What calmed my wife down a bit was my mom talking to her and telling her that in no world would I hang out with Jess after all the stuff that happened during our breakup. Things got really messy and there was a reason why she was blocked across everything. My wife agreed with her and told me to just let it go. However, it was just a horrible feeling as I did not have any real proof that this was fake, and I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop any time. I finally caught a huge break last night. My wife decided to not go to her painting night with Jess and friends yesterday and told me she just wants to be left alone and wants to read. I wanted to sit with her, but she told me to go and play with my friends as she wanted to be alone. During our gaming session, I told my 3 closest friends what happened and how there are photos of me and Jess at locations that I actually visited during that trip. The session turned into them bashing Jess, old stories, and how manipulative she is. After our gaming session was over, my friend Jim called me on phone and told me he wanted to talk about something important about Jess. He asked me if I was alone, as he did not want Olivia to listen in. I told him I need to go to a different room. I put my phone on speaker and went in our bedroom where Olivia was sitting and prompted her to stay quiet. Jim told me that he has been in contact with Jess for 3 years ago. He said that she was still married but was planning to leave her husband. They knew each other because Jess was my GF all through college. The initial conversations were just catching up and Jess complaining about her husband. He told me Jess inquired about me a few times as she had learned I got engaged to Olivia around that time. He said that they have been talking for a while now. Jess also told him about the coincidence that Olivia was in her painting group and how she met me few months ago when I went to pick up Olivia. She told Jim that Olivia came to her birthday and was heavily drinking and flirting with guys. She even sent him few pictures. There were a few with Jess and Olivia together, and then Olivia hugging and kissing a guy on his cheeks. I asked him to forward me the photos and he sent them to me on Discord. Jess told him that I am still the same insecure guy and must be tracking Olivia as I showed up at the bar at 10 p.m. like a parent to pick Olivia. Jess did not know that Olivia had called me from the restroom to pick her up. Jess made a joke to Jim about how ironic it is that I broke up with Jess because she loved to party and now I am married to a party girl. I asked Jim why he did not share those pictures with me before. He said that he did not want to stir the pot in my marriage without knowing all the details. I was really mad at Jim at this point and asked him what else did he tell Jess about me. He said not a lot and they barely talked about me. However, Jess was obsessed with Olivia and would badmouth her a lot. So, Jim might have told her a bit about Olivia, like what she does, where she works, etc. I asked Jim did he ever tell Jess about our game nights, and he said he has, and how Olivia complains about being bored. I told Jim to not tell Jess about our conversation. Jim asked me if I not tell anyone that he and Jess are in contact. He said that his wife might get the wrong idea and he just wanted to reach out because things seemed to get really weird in my life. Olivia was listening to everything and staring in disbelief at the photos that Jim shared. As soon as I hung up the phone, she started explaining to me that these were the same guys that Jess called to their table and were buying them drinks. However, she never even stood next to them, let alone hug or kiss them. She also pointed out that her Apple Watch in the photo was on her wrong wrist. She was also spooked out that Jess knew about her for almost 3 years, and there was no way she did not recognize her when she joined the painting group. Olivia was also pissed at Jim for talking to Jess and backstabbing me for so many years. She pointed out the fact that Jim was missing for one day when he and his family visited us last year. Jim was gone for the entire day and came home late at night because he had to work from his office in our city. 15 minutes after our conversation, Jess messaged my wife and told her that they missed her at the painting night, and she will see her next week. Her level of deceit really gave us chills, and Olivia was really worried. Olivia wants to go no contact with Jess, but I am worried that it may not be enough. I also still don't know how Jess knows about what I did when I visited my parents in 2019 and all the locations I went to. I also don't know who else Jess is talking to and sending Olivia's fake photos to show her in bad light. It's really unnerving, and I am just thinking about how I should confront Jess and make sure she never bothers us again. Thanks again for all the help from the community, and your messages really helped me keep my sanity during this rough week. A lot of people are messaging me in DM offering to review the pictures. I appreciate your help. I am not comfortable sharing the fake photos online with strangers. I am going to have an acquaintance who is a photographer look at them today. I had 2 people who are digital artists look at them so far, and both of them told me they cannot identify anything wrong with the photos. Also, another thing I learned after talking to a friend yesterday was the music concert venue, from the pictures, was a park near my parents' suburb, and I did indeed go there with my friend for Christmas tree event. He also confirmed to my wife that he was with me all the time and we never met just there. He also shared 2 photos from his camera roll that showed me wearing a different t-shirt than the photo that Jess shared. My mom confirmed that the gym photo was taken in an exercise room from the YMCA my parents go to. My mom reminded me that I did use their guest passes during that trip. I have no idea what is going on, TBH. AITA for moving across the country and telling my daughter that they are the reason I am an absent grandparent. Not the a-hole. So I have 2 grandkids that are 4 and 7. I live about 45 minutes away from them. At the beginning I was still working, so it was hard to make time to visit them. I would go up to visit them and it sadly was not fun. I am not baby crazy and do not want to spend my whole day watching a kid sleep. So I would stay for 2 to 3 hours before going home. My daughter hated that I wouldn't spend more time, and I told her when they are older we will bond more. I got in a car accident. It wasn't bad and it was my fault. The sun got in my eyes and I bumped into someone's car. In total it was like $300 of damage since their car had dents in the back. It was very minor accident. After that my daughter forbade me from driving anywhere with her kids, so now when I go up, I can't do anything with the kiddos. There is only so much I can do in the house, and I would have loved to take them out to places. I have asked her to drive down since I live in a walkable area, but no. It is too difficult to get them loaded up and down here. I still tried, but the more she didn't want to visit me, the more I got tired of this. Not to mention she was always on me about not being more involved. I have told her so many times that you don't let me do much with them. My breaking point was last summer. I was babysitting them in the summer and I brought up a kid's sprinkler. You connect it to the hose and the kids run through it on the splash pad. The kids had a great time, but my daughter was pissed since it ruined the grass. The water made mud and kids running messed up the grass. After that I just stopped trying. I told her to take kids to me and she refused. I am retiring and selling my home. I wish to move near the Blue Mountains, which is across the country. I told all take kids and everyone why happy for me but my daughter. We got a huge fight about me being a shit grandparent. I told her she is the reason I am absent grandparent. She called me a jerk. AITA for ending things with my girlfriend after she filed a lawsuit against me for over $250K. To add some context, me, 20M, and my girlfriend, 21F, have been together for almost 4 years. 2 years ago when I was 18 I was driving and we got into a bad accident after being T-boned by a truck. The accident was entirely my fault. I had only minor injuries while she suffered a deep gash on her hand. We paid out of pocket for the initial hospital expense and all subsequent medical expenses, including physical therapy and psychiatric therapy. She missed a week of work and regained use of her hand in a few months. I would say at the time of writing this it is 90% operational. This whole time I felt absolutely awful and was with her as often as I could be, trying to be as supportive as possible. It was the least I could do. Now 2 years later, just days before the statute of limitations on the case expires, I get served papers that my GF and family is going for everything in my insurance, including a $250,000 coverage. Her claims are for mental anguish along with permanent damage to her hand. She never told me about this in the past 2 years, despite apparently knowing she would go through with this lawsuit the entire time. Understandably, I was upset, but she is many miles away this summer in Alaska and it has been difficult to communicate with her. She insists she is doing what's best for her, and wants to use the money for us and our future. But I feel hurt and betrayed that she never told me that first off she was feeling so bad about the accident still, and secondly that she won't talk to me about the lawsuit and went behind my back to file it. I have trouble picturing a future with somebody that would go behind my back and hurt me for money. I want to try and choose forgiveness here, but I am having trouble getting past the betrayal. Am I in the wrong for this, or should I simply accept that it's what's best for her and that she wants to use it for our future? AITA for going on vacation without my girlfriend as she can't pay her way? Not the a-hole. Hi all, I, 39M, am dating someone, 33F, and have been for the last 3 months. Things are going well until the topic of my 40th birthday came up. Next year I turn 40. And I've never taken an actual vacation. I've extended work trips to do something fun where I am. I've traveled to visit friends or family. Always just for a long weekend, never more than 3 days total. I want to take a week and travel purely for recreational purposes. My criteria is that the trip needs to be at least a week and be international. I've also worked hard to get my finances in shape since my 20s. And now I have a decent business and some money set aside, and I feel like I'm ready for a trip, and next year would be a great opportunity as it is a milestone birthday. My girlfriend is great. She works hard and supports herself. But she doesn't make as much money and, most importantly, is currently saddled with around $20,000 in credit card debt arising from a period of unexpected unemployment she had in the past that forced her to burn through savings and live on credit cards. When the topic of this trio came up, she first asked if she could go. I said sure. She then asked if we could go to Vegas. I told her about my desire for this to be an international trip. Then she expressed concern over if she could afford it while at debt. I told her I'd be willing to cover our lodging and, depending on where we go, help her pay for airfare. Because we haven't been dating long, I don't feel comfortable paying her whole way and feel she should contribute financially to come along. She then told me she didn't feel she could afford to cover meals plus half airfare even if I went somewhere relatively cheap. I was thinking possibly Caribbean, where trip flights are running typically under $500. So I said that I understood, but I also have been wanting to do this milestone birthday thing for a while now, and I still intend to go even if just by myself and would only be gone a week. She became upset that I would travel without her and it caused a bit of a fight. My friends and family are split. On the one hand, some point out how many things I wanted to do but didn't get to do because my ex refused to let me, and so I should go forth with or without her. On the other, some are saying it is cruel of me to be planning a vacation in front of a person who is trying to pay off large amounts of debt anyway. I can see both sides and just want to know, AITA,